Netanyahu is one of the latest Biden officials to resign. Lily Greenberg called. She's the first Jewish appointee to resign over the president's Gaza war policy. Lily, it's great to have you with us. I wanted to start by reading something that you said in your resignation letter. You write, Jewish safety cannot and will not come at the expense of Palestinian freedom. Making Jews the face of the American war machine makes us less safe. Expand on that for us. Explain for us what you meant by that.
So I think every day, right, we, the American public, the Jewish community, really the folks around the world have been getting the message from the president, the most powerful person in the world, that the justification for this genocide is Jewish safety, right? That this is necessary to keep Jews safe. I mean, he, at some point, I think it was in December, said that if there was not an Israel, Jews around the world wouldn't be safe. I mean, that's devastating to hear as an American Jew, right? My family came here to find safety from anti-Semitic persecution, and to hear the President of the United States tell me that without Israel, I wouldn't be safe. I mean, you know, that's really terrifying. But yeah, I mean, I think it's very clear in the rhetoric that's been used that the justification is Jewish safety, and I think we have to reject that framework that somehow Jewish safety and Palestinian freedom are at odds with each other.
Let me ask you about what, if anything, can happen right now. And in your letter, you also mentioned President Biden's disastrous continued support for Israel's genocide in Gaza. And in fact, there is this new study renowned by independent human rights and legal experts backing this up, finding that Israel is in violation of the Genocide Convention. Given all of the evidence that you have seen and what others have documented about what is taking place in Gaza, what do you want to see happen immediately in the immediate term and in the mid to short term?
Well, the president has the power to call for a lasting ceasefire, to broker a hostage exchange, to stop sending weapons to Israel. He could do all of that, and he could do it right now. In 2021, when Israel was bombing Gaza, the president called Bibi Netanyahu and said, hey man, we're out of runway here. And 2 days later, the bombing stopped. So I don't know where that President Biden is right now, but it seems like he could do that. And then in the long term, you know, no matter what the long-term solution is, Palestinians need to be at the table. Ultimately, I'm an American Jew. I don't think it's up to me to decide what happens, but I know what's happening with American tax dollars is wrong.
What do you think is the significance of why you decided to do it now? I mean, obviously, this has been going on for 7 months. You decided to release your letter on Wednesday, which also happened to be the 76th anniversary of what Palestinians call the Nakba, or the catastrophe in which they commemorate the founding of the State of Israel and the mass exodus and displacement of Palestinians. But why was it so important for you to do it on that day at this point of the war?
So, you know, I'm in Nakba and Shoah, which is the Hebrew word for Holocaust. They mean the same thing. They mean catastrophe. I was raised with a fairy tale about the founding of the modern state of Israel. I didn't know what the Nakba was, and if anything, I was told that it wasn't true. So I think it was important for me as a Jewish person to acknowledge the significance of that. And, you know, the breaking point for me was that the president is really ignoring his own red line with the invasion of Rafah, right? And he's letting Netanyahu walk all over him. And once I saw that $1 billion in arms transfer you were just talking about was going to go through, I decided that I couldn't. It was too much.
There are probably those who are watching this and say you represent a very small part of the Jewish American population, or certainly the Jewish perspective on this war. I think the polls also suggest that. What do you say to those critics who say that, A, by amplifying your voice or talking to you, you're focusing on a very small part of the Jewish American population, or the Jewish voice that should not be given this much national attention?
I mean, I want to acknowledge the fear and the way my community is scared right now. That's real, and I'm scared too. And what I'm the most scared of is that the president is using us as justification for slaughter, that he's making Jews the face of the American war machine. And I want my community to be really clear-eyed and really consider what that means for us, and to see what the rest of the country sees, right? That Jews are being used as justification for this, and that it doesn't make us safe.
Can you talk a little bit about your own personal experience and how you got to this point? Have you always held these views before you went into the administration about Israel and dealing with the Palestinian issue, or is this something that has evolved gradually? I mean, are you an outlier within your family, or is this something that you personally share with others?
I was raised in a very pro-Israel community. I grew up doing pro-Israel advocacy with AIPAC and other groups. And then I was very lucky to have a lot of opportunities for my world to expand, to get to know Palestinians. And, I have always been, I would call myself a justice-oriented person. And I think, it became very clear once I also saw some of the injustices that Palestinians experience in Israel-Palestine, that was out of alignment with my values. So it's been a long process, but there's more of us within the Jewish community than I think it seems sometimes, and I hope that our voice only grows louder.
Let me ask you about the other part of this. You said you're part of the Jewish community, but also as a former member of the administration. What is the discussion taking place behind closed doors that we don't see? As I mentioned, Josh Paul mentioned a former State Department official who also resigned in protest. He mentioned, I think, about 24 people have resigned from the federal government last month. We obviously don't have that confirmed independently, but in the circles that you have, the friends that you have there been more resignations in protest that we just don't know about?
I don't know as much about resignations. I mean, if folks resign without sharing, then it's hard to know.
Right.
And people do leave for various reasons.
But maybe the sentiment. What's the sentiment then among colleagues and friends that you have
There's
inside the
widespread sentiment within the administration, widespread disagreement on the president's handling of the situation in Gaza. And it is very clear that it is a small group of leadership within the administration who are not only not listening to some of their own colleagues, but to the majority of Americans who want a ceasefire and who are horrified by what's happening to Palestinians.
Lily Greenberg, Call, I really appreciate your time. I know it's been a very intense week for you, so we certainly appreciate you spending some of your Saturday with us. Thank you so much, and best of luck to you going forward.
Thank you.